Now, Senator Bernie Sanders continues to be asked the same question over and over again. Will you, drop out of the race if you're not the nominee? Now, he was asked once again by MSNBC reporter Casey Hunt, and he had this response. Take a look.
If it's clear that you are not going to be the Democratic nominee, will you leave the race before the convention?
I intend to be the Democratic nominee.
But if you're not, you stayed in last time, and some people say that you hurt Hillary Clinton's candidacy.
Well, no, some people say that if maybe that system was not rigged against me, I would have won the nomination and defeated Donald Trump. That's what some people say. So I think we're going to play it out. I think I am excited.
And so you would take the risk.
I am excited.
Donald Trump
are you asking that of every candidate?
I'm saying if it's clear that you are not going to win the nomination, will you concede?
Well, right now we are planning to win the Democratic nomination. And I'm proud of the campaigns we're running in Iowa and in New Hampshire, and I'm proud of our grassroots support and the fact that we have 1 million volunteers. So our goal right now is to win it. And by the way, as you may know, poll after poll shows what against Trump? Shows me beating Trump by 8, 9, or 10 points. So we're going to beat Trump. We're going to win the Democratic nomination.
Are you a Democrat?
Of course I'm a Democrat. This is a Democratic national convention, a Democratic primary here, right?
All right, that's an easier answer to that question than I feel like we got in 2016.
That entire interview makes me roll my eyes. Come on, here we go. He's the only one that continues to get asked this ridiculous question. I mean, let's just stop and examine how ridiculous that is, for one, right? Before we get into the answers. You realize this is a guy who, in most aggregate polling, or at least the aggregate polling as of right now, is number 2, trailing behind Biden. Now, Elizabeth Warren has been rising in the polls as well, taking a lot of support, I think, from Joe Biden and some of the other establishment candidates. But yet she's in a close third. In some polls, of course, she has leapfrogged and become second. Now, are they asking her that question? Well, no, that's ridiculous. Why would they ask her that question? Are they asking Joe Biden that question? He's losing support. Are they asking Robert Francis O'Rourke that question? No. Bernie Sanders is the only one they ask that question about. And again, it's insanity. They continue to only ask the question of one single candidate. It's almost as if like they're targeting him on purpose with these ridiculous questions. The one before, of course, was, you're going to release your tax returns? You're going to release your tax returns, Bernie? Well, has Joe Biden never released his tax returns yet? I mean, nobody's asking for that. No, they don't ask anything those questions of anybody else because the whole point is to go after Bernie Sanders. And look, let's go with that tweak at the end, right? Are you a Democrat? Oh, okay, what kind of question is that? He's running in the Democratic primary. He has already agreed to run as a Democrat. So, for all intents and purposes, in this race, he is a Democrat. But it's another example of the kind of questions, the loaded questions that he continues to be asked during this primary. But here's the thing, right? Here's the reason. They want to get Bernie Sanders with negative headlines. The media is against Bernie Sanders. Because, look, almost right after this happened, you had article after article with the headline, Testy Bernie snaps at reporter, right? Or Bernie Sanders goes after reporter. Then you had the tweet itself from Casey Hunt, who interviewed him, said, Bernie Sanders won't commit to bowing out before the convention if it becomes clear he won't win. Now, what is that? I mean, the whole idea is, and it's a garbage question based on the idea or the assumption that it was Bernie Sanders' fault that Hillary Clinton lost to Donald Trump. That's what it's based on. That's why they don't ask anybody else. They don't ask Joe Biden. No, they don't. Okay, and go back to 2016. They don't ask, Lincoln Chafee. He ran in the Democratic Party in 2016 in the primary. They don't ask anybody else that question because it's a question designed to go after Bernie Sanders because they want to continue to blame him for Hillary Clinton losing 2016. And here's the thing, right? Hillary Clinton did not lose because of Bernie Sanders, did not lose because of Russia or Comey. No. She actually did win the popular vote, right? As, of course, Hillary Clinton supporters tend to point out. Well, she won the popular vote, right, but she didn't win the Electoral College. And why is that? It's because she had the wrong message. She was a wrong candidate at the wrong time with the wrong message. She said, I am not for radical change. I am for the status quo. I like the way things are, and I will do almost nothing to change them. Do you know who else has that message in this election right now? Joe Biden. Joe Biden literally went and told donors after he had begged a Republican donor for money, saying, I need you, Republican mega donor, billionaire. I need you in this race. He then told other Wall Street donors, don't worry, if you elect me, nothing will fundamentally change. Nothing will change. And now, in 2016, American people were so hungry for change, they voted in a monster like Donald Trump, who, by the way, has continued to be the establishment. The people, I don't think their desire for change is any less than they are right now. I mean, look at what the conversation is. Look at how the conversation has shifted to the left. Now you have candidates that are out there that are supporting Medicare for all or some sort of version of it. You have people that, are really talking about the Green New Deal. You have, a lot of politicians. Look, we had the first Democratic debate last night. There was 10 people there. But Bernie Sanders, his presence was felt throughout the entire debate. Why? It's because he changed the narrative. And he did so even though he lost to Hillary Clinton in the election. Now, of course, you'll point out that, and a lot of these pundits have, they said, well, Bernie Sanders says the election was rigged against him. No, he said, as a response to the statement from Casey Hunt that said, some people say you hurt Hillary Clinton's candidacy. And he rebuts and says, well, some people said that maybe if the system wasn't rigged, I would have won the nomination and defeated Donald Trump. That's not him coming out and saying, I say that the system was 100% rigged against me. No, he was pushing back on this ridiculous narrative that the establishment continues to push, partly because they want to push somebody like Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, that it was Bernie Sanders' fault that she didn't win the nomination, or I'm sorry, that she didn't win against Donald Trump, when in reality, again, it was not his fault, it was her fault. She was the wrong kind of candidate. Look, the people want change, right? The establishment and the establishment media, well, they don't want change. And so they will continue to hit Bernie Sanders with these ridiculously loaded questions. And then, of course, when Bernie Sanders gets tired of it, as most of us would, then they will write smear article after smear article about how cranky and how angry and sexist and finger-waggy Bernie Sanders is. How much he was interrupting that poor reporter, Casey Hunt. He was interrupting her. What a sexist. Those articles are already pouring in. They're already here. And of course, that was the entire point. Their disdain for Bernie Sanders, they can't hide it anymore. It's so nakedly obvious. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. and you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.